Hey guys, you remember when I filmed that fun video with my friend Addy? You know the one. Hey, are the motors okay?
Yeah, they're fine, but we were thinking about maybe revamping them.
Ooh. So that was an Easter egg. I've teased these motors for a little while, but it is time to reveal to you, my viewers, before anybody else hears about these, the world's best motors for Nerf. They're also the world's coolest friendship bracelet. Yep, we can't unmake that joke. Alrighty guys, so the cat's out of the bag. These are the Fang Revamped motors, and if that logo looks super special awesome to you, I have no idea where you would have seen such a logo before. Obviously, these motors are near and dear to my heart and teeth. They are very, very cool. Now, way back when, we launched the Fang original motors. They were 132 sized cans with so much torque and such great performance that it was hard to imagine you never need anything else. They were the best motors. Then people got really into neodymium and started doing way more current draw than realistically the hobby needs, in my humble opinion, as somebody who's only made infinity flywheel blasters. What's that opinion got to be worth? Anyhow, one of the biggest pains with any sort of top shelf build is having to cut holes in the shell to accommodate motors that are longer, and we thought that the 132s would make that much easier, being that they're shorter, and there was a way that we could, in theory, build cages so that you wouldn't have to blah, 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 blah. Forget about it. These are 130 sized motors, which means absolutely no shell cutting. They hopped on the neodymium hype train. They have I think sintered neodymium magnets. They're bad for the earth because they are rare earth magnets. I think those are the same, neodymium and rare earth, but they're great for us. They are awesome. Now, they've got this ultra sexy logo designed by Addy of Foam Blast and myself. That is pretty cool in and of itself, and they're specifically not anodized. If you look at the cans that have been anodized recently, be they the Hyperions or the Aussie spec ones where they're colored, it seems like that anodization gets scratched up so bad. The motors want to stick to one another so much. They're so clicky in that regard that as you're twisting them or pulling them apart or they're being shipped or stored, it turns out that that finish actually winds up not looking that nice anyway, so it didn't make sense. Instead, we wanted to put an ultra sexy logo on them. They have proper venting holes. They are rock solid. They come with all of the I guess guaranteeing customer service that Foam Blast is known for, which means they ship fast, they individually package your motors so you wind up with product that's properly marked and completely functional because they test everything even before they send it to their distributors. Other things that these have going for them are, and I'm reading now because while I know this, I want to make sure I tell you guys the exact right thing. Oh, how did I miss this? Listen to this. You guys ready? You can't hear anything, and you can't hear anything because it's a camera and they're motors anyway, but you'll notice when I actually rev these up in a blaster, which I have behind me right now, these are super quiet. That's because in addition to their neodymium magnets and more torque than you could ever possibly use, they also have ball bearings. The ball bearings just make them more stable and quieter, and they give you a really, really nice sound. Now, as far as top-end performance, these are what I was using in my Eclipse cage video, which obviously, if you go way back, I got insane performance. They have enough torque that if you run them on a 3S, in a high crush system, you're going to get that sweet, sweet performance that you're looking for. Almost 200 FPS, easily 180. If you run them in like the setup that I have in the blaster setup that I have right now is an OFP 41.5 crush worker flywheel serrated build, and they're getting like 160 in that. And I know that they can get like a little over 160 and a little under 160, but they're averaging right at 160 FPS. And I built that specifically to test them in a high crush system, and we can run that on both 2S and 3S. And that's because these are 2S motors. Now they run at 3S, which is really cool. They have that ability. They're kind of like switch hitters. They're very dynamic, not unlike their namesake, but Anyway, on 3S, they run in high crush systems and deliver slightly higher FPS as they're spinning much faster. Now, when they're in a 2S setup, they just deliver nice balanced performance. They do draw a reasonable amount of current. They do not replace Mi shells. I believe these are going to be more expensive than Mi shells for one thing, and they do draw more current. However, you can get a battery that will still fit in a stock tray, so 2S is still viable. You don't have to cut the shell for the motors, and then you don't even have to buy a replacement battery door if you don't want to. You can just sand it out. So these are like the ultimate strife motors as far as I'm concerned. They literally work in so many different builds and have so many different functions and require so little extra work that it's hard to imagine you would ever need a different motor unless you were doing like a budget build or something like that. I'm pretty sure that I've covered everything. The only thing that I haven't covered specifically is that they do have a low enough stall current that you don't actually need MOSFETs to run these. Whereas like some of these ridiculous brushless and I know the Hyperions or whatever they are, you should be using MOSFETs for some of those systems. These do not require that. You can build the same way that we've been building for the last 2 years or so, get better performance than you've gotten in the last 2 years or so, and realistically don't have to change anything. But I could hold these up and show you how cool it is that they repel one another or attach to one another because they're rare earth magnets until the sun comes up, but instead I'm going to show you the performance in the blaster that I just built for them. Alrighty, so I'm going to go ahead and flip on our ballistic precision chronograph. I'm going to start, this entire magazine is full of AccuFakes. They're new AccuFakes. I'm going to start by plugging in my favorite 2S LiPo. This is a 0.95 graphene Turnigy battery. The bottom line is that this one's really great because by the time you tuck it in there, you have just enough space for an XT60 connector, and hopefully you guys can tell that that does not require an expanded tray, although you could use one. So I do have one, but why bother? So let's go ahead and throw this home. This is Fang's worker wheel, serrated 41.5, and it has a Morpheus guide, which should be slowing these down if anything. So let's fire these over the chronograph real quick. And I love that noise. They have the ball bearings. It's just so much nicer. Alright, so we finally got one to go over, and it's giving us 105. I don't think that that's the top end, but we might be getting some drag out of this. There we go. That is a much more accurate indicator of what this setup has been doing for me with the 122. 119. 112 because it flipped off in a weird way. 130. Magazine misbehaving. 102 and 121. So we still have 6 left, which is good because what I want to show you is that these motors are so versatile. I just love them. That we can go ahead and throw this exact same setup onto this battery. This is just a big 3S. Realistically, doesn't have the kind of discharge that I want for this, but it's so large that it shouldn't matter. So we've got that, and let's fire this. So it's going to be louder, but not by a lot because of those ball bearings. Okay, so it's a lot, but it's still a cool noise. What can you do? You knew the entire time I was sitting there, and you just let me do it. Guys, Nerf blasters, it turns out, work way better with Nerf magazines inside. You're a jerk, all right? My buddy over here is laughing because he watched me pull the trigger and like, why is it resting so? You're a jerk. All right. Why is this magazine doing this? I'm not realistically getting the kind of numbers that I expected out of this, and I think that it has a lot to do with the fact that when I was testing the cage, it didn't have all this 3D printed plastic on the front, and if you guys can tell, it's designed as a very tight 3D printed barrel, and so I think that it's actually inducing a reasonable amount of drag. I wish I could just twist this off. I can. Alright, so talk about this kit in a separate video because it is also pretty cool, but tolerances are ridiculous. Trick there was not to stab myself in the face. Alright, so we should be good to go now. Flip this up and in. Still not getting exactly what I was looking for, but maybe it's the Morpheus guide. I don't know what's going on. 145. I can show you serious performance from these motors, but I would like to do that ideally in a metal cage. So I'll build an artifact build later on and I'll post it to the community tab or something. Have you guys been enjoying the community tab? It's kinda, I don't know how I feel about it quite yet. There we go. We did it, Obama. See, I'm not actually just cherry picking these, like, it's just why show you consistent numbers when I can keep moving through the clip. See, like, proof, they're not all gems. Some of them are error 2s. Or error 3, for when you don't want to register anything at all. Bottom line, motors are awesome. Buy them or don't. Available at foamblast.com. Link in description box. Obviously, this company and I are very close. We have collaborated on a number of projects, both video-wise, production-wise, etc. They're just a really great company to work with. Their customer service is solid. They treat you as well as they treat me, and they treat me very, very well. So that's my review of the new motors that share my name. Hopefully, you guys enjoyed this video. Pick up a pair of Fangs yourself today, and let me know what you think of them. Legitimately, like, I think that these are the motors that I will be using. I hesitate to say in all of my builds because I have about 300 motors in the workshop that I've already purchased or received in one form or another, but like any build that I'm doing either for my patrons or myself and I don't feel like going to the 180 can size, why would you use anything but these? Like, Fang's Revamped. Mic drop.